We're witnessing the birth of a brand new S-Class in chapter 146 of the One Punch Man webcomic. Of course, the world is straight up ending like it has been in the past few chapters, but at least in this one, there's a glimmer of hope that some of the heroes are starting to turn the tide slightly. But of course, things are never that simple, and it seems like a much bigger threat is coming. And what I think is going to excite you guys the most out of this chapter is that we get the return of two very important characters, Garo and Amai Mask. As a One Punch Man enjoyer, I am so excited that we got a new webcomic chapter, because honestly the story has been absolutely peaking lately. And yeah, there's a ton to cover in this chapter, so let's just get right into it. So if you guys remember in the past few chapters that we've gotten from the webcomic, the whole world is essentially ending with all these battle robots attacking every single city out there, and it seems like nobody can stop them except for like the higher level heroes like the S-Class and the head of the Neo heroes. But we see even if they can handle these battle robots individually, there's just so many of them that it's still starting to overwhelm them. We also saw that the Hero Association base was under heavy fire from all of these battle robots, and honestly it seems like they're done for too. And we actually get to the Hero Association base a little later in this chapter, but we actually kick things off here with Drive Knight. Of course, one's still teasing his mystery whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. He still continues it with this because all Drive Knight says on this page is he's looking at these flying battle robots that we haven't seen before, and he's saying high-end units. I knew they'd show up. Now whether he knew they'd showed up because he has something to do with this, or he knew they would show up because he has a familiarity with Metal Knight's, tech or whatever, that's still yet to be seen. But it is important to know that there's a new wave of these battle robots that are seemingly stronger than the ones we saw before. And we spend the next couple pages with the Neo hero leaders kind of having their time to shine, each individually taking out these new battle robots that seem a lot stronger than the previous ones. We can see that just one of them can shoot rays in all different directions and destroy multiple buildings at once. If the other battle robots weren't individually dragon level threats, then these are definitely dragon level threats on their own, I think, because they could just cause mass destruction in a single second. But like I said, we see characters like Axel and Webby Gaza, also Ronin and even Blue, taking their opportunities to destroy some of the battle robots and try to clear the way for the other, weaker Neo heroes. But what's really interesting is that when Blue is destroying some of these robots, he's getting information from their HQ, telling him to fall back and rest up because Master Fuzzy is concerned that the enemy is still saving some hidden weapons. So if some of you guys don't remember, Master Fuzzy is the person that was revealed to be the true leader behind the Neo heroes. Surprisingly, he ended up being Lady Shibabawa's grandson, who also inherited her third eye ability. So there's been a lot of speculation out there that Fuzzy's actually a bad guy and he's just kind of disguising the Neo heroes to cover up his, villainous intentions in the future and stuff. And yeah, he's a psychic, so he could see into the future. That's his whole thing. So that could explain why he knows that there's some other hidden weapons that are still coming. But if you want to look at it in a more cynical light, then this might mean that Fuzzy knows that there's another danger coming because this whole thing is, pretty much created by the Neo heroes, or at least the organization that's heading them. I don't think the heroes themselves, like Ronin, Blue, SwoU, all of them, I don't think they would be aware that this whole attack might be the Neo leaders doing. Like I said, it might be Fuzzy and some other people at the top that are kind of organizing this. And it seems like us as readers aren't the only ones that are speculating something fishy going on, despite, tons and tons of battle robots destroying every city. Because we cut to SwoU and he notices that there is a second wave of robots, the flying ones, and he thinks to himself that the Neo leaders can handle these types of robots. Like, they're not super strong to where, higher level heroes can't take them out on their own, but there's still something that's bothering him. There's still something that feels off. And if you guys remember, in the previous few chapters, SwoU has actually been pretty much the only one that's noticed something off with these attacks, and even acknowledged the fact that there's likely second or third waves of these robots. So obviously SwoU is picking up on something that nobody else is. And like I said, it seems pretty apparent that there is something going on that's kind of fishy with this whole thing. Right now, the assumption is that these are Metal Knight's battle robots and he's turning evil for some reason, but there's obviously going to be more to that. But for now, we actually end up cutting back to the Hero Association HQ, and it turns out they're receiving a message from SwoU telling them to stay put and not join the fight because the Neo heroes have it under control, pretty much saying that they're too weak to help out in any way and they'll just get in the way. But Suiko is amongst the people hearing this message, and she thinks that this is a big mistake, that essentially SwoU's inexperience as a hero is making him make that mistake because he's trying to act like, the tough big brother and trying to protect his sister, but he underestimates the fact that the Hero Association themselves also has some pretty special heroes. And we see an image of Saitama, so obviously her meeting Saitama made her realize that the Hero Association actually low-key does have some heavy hitters that they don't know about. So it's a big mistake that they're not letting them join the battle and help out in any way that they can. Well, finally we cut over to our favorite hero hunter, Garo, who after getting fired from the moving company he was at, seems like he has some kind of construction job job, and he managed to destroy all of the robots that attacked them while still carrying the material that he was using for construction. And Garo also notices that there's this second wave of battle robots, and he thinks to himself that it seems like the Hero Association has some kind of labor shortage. But the big surprise here is that a machine god specifically is sent to take out Garo, because we see that as soon as this machine god shows up behind him, it says kill list number 14, former hero hunter Garo. And what I find really interesting about this is that if we remember back to when Dr. Kuseno was taken out, he was also the member of a kill list. So it kind of raised some eyebrows at the time that, like, why is he on this kill list and who else is on this kill list? Most important question is who made this kill list. But surprisingly, we get some pretty crucial information from this machine god. It says that its name is Machine God Magnusausa. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but sorry, whatever. But the important thing to note here is that it says to Garo, "Sir, I have use for your corpse." So right here, I think this is the biggest, smoking gun, red flag, whatever you want to call it, showing that the Neo Heroes organization is likely behind this whole thing and likely behind the machine gods, or at least in some kind of connection with the organization that's sending out these machine gods. Because we've seen throughout the Neo Heroes arc that there have been heroes or individual people that have been taken in once they've been damaged or something and turned into cyborgs. We saw this specifically with the Neo leaders Zayditz and Infelsinave, where they were easily defeated and it almost seemed like they were targeted by the monsters that they were attacked by, and they were immediately turned into cyborgs that were pretty subservient to the Neo leaders in general. I always thought the fact that those two Neo leaders in specific were the ones that were taken out and turned into cyborgs too, because if you think about it, Infelsinave and Zayditz brought the two major things that the Neo leaders were looking for. Infelsinave brought the numbers from his cult following, and Zayditz brought all the money that he came in with because the guy was like a tech billionaire. I don't know, just some food for thought. But Garo, of course, manages to completely destroy this machine god without any effort at all. And what's really interesting is that he seems like he's kind of conflicted with his way of dealing with things, because he completely destroys the machine god. It seems like he almost looks down on violence as a way to solve anyone's problems now. It seems like he's really grown and taken on Bang's way of thinking, his pacifism, I guess. But funnily enough, Garo tries getting back to work, but the boss on the site is like, "Nah, dude, we're not working today. Like, there's this crazy disaster happening. We're all going to the shelter." But we cut away from Garo to this kid and this older lady walking down the street, and there isn't anyone helping them because everyone's evacuated or going to the shelters or, just in the mess of everything. So the kid is worried about his grandma, of course, getting to safety. And right at that moment, a bunch of battle robots show up behind her, and she just tells him to run. And the kid starts crying to himself, holding his action figure and saying that if Stag Beetle Man were there, then he'd come to help for sure. As far as I know, this is the very first time that I've heard of this Stag Beetle Hero Man or whatever. And the reason I even bring this up is because it comes into play next, because it seems like the battle robots are about to attack the kid and the grandma. And as the kid is shaking in fear, we hear someone say transform, and a real life Stag Beetle Man comes in to take out all the battle robots. The kid is obviously amazed that this is a real hero. He thought it was just an action figure. So he freaks out saying all the picture book heroes are all real heroes. But Stag Beetle Man just pats him on the head and says like the, humble hero thing. Like, no, you're the real hero. Grow up and become stronger and make sure to become the real thing, a real hero. And the kid ends up running away with his grandma. So, we're kind of left a little bit confused as to who the hell this guy is. But immediately on the next page, we have that question answered, because we have none other than the Bubbly Boys. If you guys remember, they're the, idol group that Amai Mask pretty much humbled and told to sit down and said that there's no way that they'll ever be real heroes. They're on the scene and they've joined the Neo Heroes, so now they're the Neo Bubbly Boys. And to make a long story short, they start talking all this shit about Amai Mask, revealing that this guy that turned into Stag Beetle Man is actually Amai Mask using his transformation ability, which I thought was a pretty major surprise because I didn't think that we'd be seeing Amai Mask so soon. If you guys remember, the last time we saw him is when he was actually revealed to be a monster to the entire world, and Saitama ran away with him somewhere and we had no clue where they went. We still technically have no clue where they went, but all we know is that Amai Mask is okay, and our guy's still trying to conduct justice. So, we know he has good intentions at heart, and all he wants to do is save people. That's all he's ever wanted to do. Just the way he's gone about it has always been kind of fishy sometimes. But anyway, these Neo Bubbly Boys are pretty much saying that this is their time to shine, taking out this fake hero, this ugly monster. Obviously, they're probably going to get their asses whooped because Amai Mask is S-class level for sure in terms of strength. And these kids are obviously way too full of themselves. Like, they thought that two of them making C-class level was this huge achievement when we've seen in the past that C-class level heroes are pretty much nothing. They're just regular guys. So I'm really hoping that in the next webcomic chapter, we pick up right here from this scene and we get some more information on where Amai Mask has been. But one thing I really love about this chapter is that it seems that that other heroes that we've seen in the past, or like other characters we've seen that weren't technically in the S-Class but still as powerful as S-Class heroes, are kind of re-emerging here to help. It very much seems like the formation of a brand new S-Class, seeing as how so many of the S-Class have already left. So there's definitely a void to fill right now, and it seems like a My Mask and Garo are going to be filling that void, which is super exciting. But let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comments below. Are you as excited as I am that we're finally getting some more webcomic action? Are we maybe going to be getting one more webcomic chapter before the year ends? I don't know. That might be wishful thinking, but you know, we can have our fingers crossed, we can dream, right? And if you haven't had your fill of One Punch Man content yet at the end of this video, then make sure to click the one you see on your screen right now, and I'm sure I'll keep you entertained. But until then, have an absolutely wonderful afternoon, evening, night, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next video.